Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be painting up the Terminator Librarian model from the Leviathan box set. Now I have actually completely assembled the model as it really doesn't get in the way of painting to do so. And then I primed the model with my usual car primer. Unfortunately I forgot to get all the pictures of all the paints I used and I put them away before I could get the pictures. I just forgot. Alright, getting straight into the pre-coating with Cantor Blue, Calidor Sky, and Temple Guard Blue, we're going to paint the armor. So, using an airbrush just for quick ease of application, Cantor Blue all over. Then Calidor Sky from up above at an angle to create the light and dark highlights. Then a 50-50 mix of Calidor and Temple Guard Blue, and then to spray this on like the top of the knees, head, shoulder pads, arms, stuff like that. And then with pure Temple Guard, we will highlight all the edges of the armor. Now with French ultramarine and a little bit of black, we're going to create not really a wash, more like a very thin down paint. So it's going to be very thick with oil and very little mineral spirits, and I'm going to apply this all over. The reason why I'm doing it this way is because on the box art, the armor is a much darker blue. So I'm like, okay, I will instead do this to pigment it further. And then I wipe the remains off with a makeup sponge. Then add way more mineral spirits into the wash and then just apply a little bit more around just to even things out and make sure the color flows pretty well in some areas. With Mournfang Brown, XV88, and Agrax Earthshade, we're going to paint the book on his back. So we're going to start with the base layer of Mournfang. Then we're going to apply Agrax Earthshade. Then we're going to refill everything except the deepest, darkest recesses with Mournfang. Then we're going to do Agrax Earthshade again. Then we're going to do Mournfang again, covering pretty much most of it, drawing some thin lines. And then a mix of Mournfang and XV88 on the most raised areas and edges and stuff like that. And yeah, and keep repeating the process until you get what you like. Alright, with Bold Titanium White from Pro Acrylic and Temple Guard Blue and Lamy Medium, we're going to paint the glowing runes. Now this was a first attempt with all this stuff, so it's not the best. So I filled out all the lines, indents in the armor with Bold Titanium White. And then I took Temple Guard Blue, watered down heavily with Lamy Medium, making it very translucent, and then filled all the gaps. This wasn't that good. I don't know how to describe it, but some of the parts were just too overflowing. Some were too thin, mostly over full. So, it's meh. Alright, we're going to take Abaddon Black and we're going to paint all the gaps in the armor and the black cords that he has scattered throughout, on his sides and on his axe. Alright, with Cadian Flesh Tone, Agrax Earthshade, and Pallid Witch Flesh, we're going to paint the face. So we're going to start off with a base layer of Cadian Flesh Tone all over. Then we're going to do a thin layer of Agrax Earthshade all over. We don't want to flood the thing, we just want to lightly cover it so that the recesses are visible. Then what we're going to do is going to take Cadian Flesh Tone, but we're going to water it down a lot so it's very thin. And then we're going to basically keep applying layers, raising them up until we're satisfied. Then we're going to mix some Pallid Witch Flesh into the Cadian to make it lighter, and then we keep applying these very thin watered down layers, and we just build them up going from dark to light in transition. So the high cheekbones, nose, eyebrows, stuff like that, get more layers and stuff like that. So yeah. Alright, with Administrative Grey, Dawnstone, and Nullnoir, we're going to paint the rock he's standing on. So we're going to start with Dawnstone all over. Then I'm going to take Administrative Grey and apply it on all the edges, a little thickly here and there. I'm just trying a different order. Then we're going to cover it all with Nun Oil. Then, once it dries, with the help of a hair dryer, we're then going to go with Administrative Grey and a thin brush, and we're just going to overbrush, which is very similar to dry brush, all over the edges and some parts in the middle of the rock to create this scraping sound, or look. Alright, with Doombull Brown and Agrax Earthshade, we're going to paint the haft of his axe. Very simple, Doombull Brown all over, Agrax Earthshade fills it up, and then repaint the center top-ish of each diamond with Doombull Brown again. Simple, easy, done. And now with Emperor's Children and Guilliman Flesh, we're going to paint the Purity Seals, the wax part. We're just a base layer of Emperor's Children, Guilliman Flesh covering it all, and then little taps of highlights of Emperor's Children on the tops and the centers. That's it. Alright, with Eshin Grey, Dawnstone, Administrative Grey, and not shown Nuln Oil, I paint the Purity Seals, the paper part. So base layer of Eshin Grey all over, Dawnstone along the, basically covering 90% of everything except the deepest, darkest recesses, or where the light definitely won't hit. And then Administrative Grey along all the edges, the flat edges, raised edges, curves, and stuff like that, and a little bit of a feathering technique here and there to help. And then I apply Nuln Oil all over to sort of tie all the colors together. I probably should have done another highlight of Administrative Grey afterwards, but I didn't. Alright, I have some micron pens, black, red, and blue. Unfortunately, the colored ones are 0.5 millimeters, but the black one is 0.25. 0.25 is very good for doing the script, and so I do. With the black, I write or do dots and dashes, basically Morse code along the lines to create the script for the Purity Seals. And with the red and blue, I paint basically some box squares here and there to add some color and flair to it. Alright, with Dawnstone, Nuln Oil, and Administrative Grey, we're going to paint the Crux Terminatus on his left shoulder. So, base layer of Dawnstone, Nuln Oil all over, re-highlight everything with Dawnstone, and then with Administrative Grey, we're going to paint thin lines on the most raised areas, edges, and corners of the thing. Alright, with Jacaro Orange and Uriel Yellow, we're going to paint these yellow chords he has. Basically, base layer of Jacaro Orange, and then with Uriel Yellow, I couldn't think of any fast way to do this, so I'm going to do it the slow and painful way. Paint a thin line all around it on each and every one of the raised areas, which is quite a lot, and this took a bit. Alright, with Microset, we're going to add a decal to his right shoulder, an ultramarine symbol. So basically, take the decal, apply the Microset on with a brush to get it off and pliable, then apply it onto the shoulder pad, which already has some Microset on there, and then apply some on top. And this basically just helps the decal, I don't know how to describe it, but fit on it. Yeah. Alright, with Temple Guard Blue, Kalador Sky, Baharoth Blue, and Bold Titanium White, we're going to paint his axe. So the model's not looking too good, so it needs something to spruce it up. So I'm going to try to do a good power axe. So basically I paint the whole thing in Temple Guard Blue. Then with Kalador Sky, the dark paint, very watered down. Very, very watered down. I show how I do it with the Baharoth Blue. But basically, I apply layer upon layer on certain parts for the color to turn dark. And it works pretty well. I have to use a hairdryer to rapidly dry things, so this doesn't take forever, but this whole process takes a very long time. It's not something I would do commonly. And essentially, this took forever, and it was a very cautious process of applying very little paint at a time, making sure none of it pooled, because it would ruin it. And then I went to Baharoth Blue, mixed with a little bit of Bold Titanium White, and applied it on the opposite side where I put the dark to create the light value in between. So the Temple Guard Blue was always in the middle, the dark on one side and the bright blue on the other. And then in the very end I took Baharoth Blue with a little bit of Bold Titanium White and I painted the edges off screen, because if I made a mistake on camera it would be too ridiculous to try to fix it, and so I took care of it off camera, because then I can have it like right next to my face, fully steadied hand. I paint worse when I'm on camera. Everything that's off camera is always painted better, so no risks here. Alright, Eshin Grey, Dawnstone, and Nuln Oil. Applied Eshin Grey first on these his black strap. He also has some on his book. And then Nuln Oil, which was a mistake on my part, but I made it work. And then I applied Dawnstone on all the edges. So just something simple, quick, and done. And because it's so small, high contrast between the highlight and the regular color is key, because it's so small you're not going to really notice small changes. Alright, with AK Interactive Ultra Matte Varnish, we're going to apply this all over the model. But that's pretty much it. Alright, with basically a dark metal, steel, Nuln Oil to make it darker, gunmetal gray, which is kind of a middle metal color, and duraluminum, which is a bright silver that works, we're going to paint the metal. So basically we're going to apply, for all the basic metal stuff, we're going to apply the steel color all over. Then we're going to apply Nuln Oil over everything. And then once that's done, I'm going to go to the gunmetal gray, which is the mid-color steel. Just so you know, the gun case of his Stormbolter has 2 layers of Nuln Oil on it, just to darken it. And so basically I take the gunmetal gray and I do overbrushing along the edges of most of the metal and stuff to add some brightness to it here and there. And yeah. Occasionally here and there on the gun casing thing to create like slashes and stuff through it. And then with duraluminum, the bright silver, I painted on the most raised areas, edges, and stuff like that to add light focus to it. Alright, with Sycorax Bronze, Castellax Bronze, and Hashut Copper, and Seraph Sepia, we're going to paint the bronze. So, alright, so there's 2 different ways I've done this. So first on his axe, I painted the most bright color Sycorax Bronze first, then I painted some edges and corners in the middle of it with Castellax Bronze, and then I filled in the rest with Hashut Copper as a reverse highlight for something so small. Like, I'm not going to be able to get the edges, and it didn't really work. Alright, and then moving on to the other gold pieces. I start off with Hashut Copper, which is the base color, all over the gold pieces. Then I took the Castellax Bronze, which is the dark color, and filled in the eye sockets, edges, gaps, stuff like that. Then I took Seraph Sepia and I applied it all over to help blend the 2 of the copper and the bronze, or the dark bronze, together. Then I went back with the mid-color Hashut Copper, and then did a light overbrushing all over the whole thing to make it shine again, because the Seraph Sepia turns it matte. Then with the very bright silvery Sycorax Bronze, I apply this on the most raised edges, raised areas, and stuff like that, and it looks good. And here is a base I threw together, a muddy ground with some blood around it. It's okay. And done. Well, this was a mixed bag. So, this is the first of the new Terminator armors I have painted, and I actually really don't like it. The legs, more specifically, the back of the legs, they added like this extra detail of what looks like metal piping on the back instead of just flat raised plates. If you know the original Terminator models, you know what I'm talking about. This new stuff adds an extra dimension that I'm not a fan of. So the runes, the color, the brightness, it just was too much, but it's really my first time trying it. So, I don't know, I didn't like it. So, overall, I'm not too happy about it, but there are some things that did turn out well. First and foremost, that power axe. I finally did it. It took a long time to get the colors and the color transition. I had to water that paint down to the point that it would be ruined, quote unquote ruined. But man, it looks good. It could be better, naturally, but man, it's a good first true attempt. But that took a long time. There's probably like 10 or 15 layers of the color of the dark and the light each in each spot. And there's like a bright and lower, and it's like, ugh. That's not something I'd want to do often. So that really raises up. That axe looks great. Okay, but that took a while, goodness. Then after that, his gun looks good. I actually like how the metals work with the gun casing. The base, it doesn't detract. It's not bad. When you look at it, you're not going to have that base like stick out negatively. Although the wet, muddy ground doesn't exactly adhere well to his rock. But I don't know, the rock could be dry, the rest of the ground could be wet. I mean, you see stuff like that in nature. His purity seals are okay. The paper, though, maybe the dark gray wasn't the best, because it kind of hides a lot of the detail that I put on it. It's really hard to say because I don't like what I've done with the model. I would give it a 6 out of 10, but that axe, though, yeah, that brings it up. I'm going to say 8 out of 10 for the axe alone. Yeah, that's on a different level. The runes really, it did mess it up. Maybe I should have just left them inert. Well, alright, well, I'm sorry this took so long. It's just I've been so busy with real life, has been just brutal. I've had very little time to paint. I've just come back home and just vegetated. So, well, anyway. So I'm going to try to wrap up the Leviathan box set. I'm not really going to showcase most of the Space Marines. I'm just going to do the Captain left. I'm just going to sell off the other parts of the boxes. I don't want to deal with it. I'm going to keep the Terminators, though, for when I eventually, maybe someday, one day, start a Dark Angels army. But, yeah. So that's 1 more Ultramarine and 3 more NIDS things. Yeah. Alright, so like the video if you like the video, comment if you want to comment, share if you want to share it, and more to come. Bye.